Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Healing with Nama. I am Casey, aka Nama, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a happy holiday season and are enjoying these first couple of weeks in 2022. I took a little break, so that's why the show was on hiatus. I was on vacation and just giving myself a little bit of a mental break. So I'm happy to be back doing the show again and getting back on track with releasing weekly episodes. I have some new topics planned, and I'm just really excited for 2022 and everything that I feel that's coming this year. This is a good year. If you're talking about like numbers, 222 is a really good number for trusting and just, believing that good things are going to happen to you. So if you're into numbers, looking up 222, you'll know that hopefully for everybody this will be a good, a really good year. But for me, I feel like it's going to be really good. So anyway, today I wanted to talk about releasing the old you. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about my experience with shedding some old layers of myself. Of course, we'll always be growing and shedding layers. But at certain points in your life, it will be something specific, and the next time it will be something else. So for me, I know that shedding old layers of myself is important, and that's with anybody. Shedding old layers of yourself is just really important because you're not going to be the same person that you were 10 years ago or when you were a teen to in your 30s or 40s. And I think you're supposed to, you're supposed to grow and be different. You don't want to still have a teenage mindset when you're in your mid-30s, So shedding old layers of yourself is important. For me personally, all of my life, I've done what I thought I was supposed to do, in quotation marks. It was funny because it's kind of it was like a, what do you call it? Paradox, or I don't know if that's the right word, but a contradiction where I didn't really give in to peer pressure, but I also didn't make a lot of my own choices based on what I wanted. So I, from a young age, was just very quiet. I wasn't very inquisitive in the way of, how kids get into stuff and want to open this cabinet and, touch all these things. I didn't really have that as a kid, so my parents say. And so I liked to follow the rules. I didn't want to get in trouble. I liked to stay under the radar and just kind of lay low. So as I got older, I was labeled, the good kid and the good example, the quiet kid, the goody two shoes. And after a while, you just kind of roll with that because it's your role. And also, it was what I didn't like to get in trouble. So it kind of was true. And then it kind of became a thing of almost a stigma about me that, I was the shy kid, the quiet kid, the one that didn't X, Y, and Z or whatever. So you kind of feed into that as a kid, and it kind of becomes your identity. Whether or not it's true, you just kind of fall into it. And so even in school, I didn't like to rock the boat. I didn't want people to be mad at me. I didn't want people to not like me or make fun of me. So a lot of times I wouldn't stand up for myself. I wouldn't stand up for other people. I would try to make everybody like me, by giving them stuff and being overly nice so that they wouldn't talk bad about me or make fun of me. And of course, as a kid, that doesn't work because kids are just mean and cruel sometimes. So I allowed myself to be taken advantage of a lot, I think. And just because I wanted people to like me. So that rolled into me being, in my early adulthood, making choices based on what others wanted or what I thought they wanted or how they thought I should be doing things. So I can remember my high school graduation. I personally did not like high school. I did not have a good high school experience. It was not fun for me. it's not something that I look back on with a lot of fond memories because it was really tough. I was bullied and it just wasn't a fun time for me. So graduating high school was like the best thing ever because I did not want to be in school anymore. I hated it. I had a hard time with my classes, especially math. I was awful at math, and it still gives me a lot of anxiety to do math just because it's not my forte. It's just not good. I don't like it. And so I started to just not like school in general. I didn't like feeling confined to this place. I had to stay there for all these hours, and I just wanted to get out. I didn't want to be there. And that led me to not wanting to go to college right away. I told my mom and my dad, maybe I'll take, a gap year or something to work and figure out what I want to do because I really don't want to go back to school. So my mom, being my mom, kind of decided what she thought was best for me and enrolled me in the local community college without telling me. And me kind of being that people pleaser and not wanting to rock the boat, I just kind of went with it. I don't remember if I gave her any pushback or whatever, but in any case, I went to school. I went to college. I chose the easiest major that I could think of just to get it over with because I didn't want to be there anyway. So I majored in child development because I was always good with kids. So I'm like, well, child development, that's easy. Be a preschool teacher, get it done, whatever. So I did probably 3 years in community college, got my degree, did not participate in any social events, any campus, whatever. No, I just went to school and I went home and I went to work. That was it. I didn't want to be a part of socializing and all that stuff because I had such a hard time in high school that my self-confidence was, very, very low. So I didn't want to be a part of any social settings or anything where I had to put myself out there. It was very uncomfortable and I just didn't want to do it. So I got my degree in child development, and then I did not like that. I did not like being a teacher, so I went back to school, which was my own choice, and figured out that I found a major that made me happy, which was human development. So studying people and learning about people and what they do and why they think and all those types of things. That made me happy. So that was probably the beginning of me making choices for myself and being happy. And even though it was going back to school because after my associate's degree, I took 2 years off to work and realized I did not like what I was doing and I wanted to do something else. So I made the choice to go back to school, and that felt empowering. That was like one of the first times I think I had made a choice for myself to do something that I wanted to do because I wanted to do it. It wasn't anybody else's choice. So that was a one way for me to learn, like, okay, you can do it, you can make your own choices. And I ended up really liking my undergrad program. It was enjoyable for me. I had a lot of fun. I loved what I was learning. The the major that I picked, human development, was really good for me because I like people. Even though I at the time didn't believe that I was very social, I liked learning about people, and I like to study people and understand why people make the choices that they do and how their social environment affects them and all that stuff. So it just was a perfect thing for me, and I felt empowered making that choice for myself. And during the time where I was doing my undergrad, I also had my spiritual awakening, which led me to realizing that I was a people pleaser and that I allowed people to think for me a lot. And I didn't have boundaries. So this is the time where I started implementing a lot of boundaries. And at first it was too much. And if you've listened to my podcast episode about my first dark night of the soul, you'll hear me talk a little bit about like how in the beginning when I was setting boundaries, it was too much. Like everything was a boundary. And, I had to be overly protective of myself and my energy and my space, because I was still figuring out what my boundaries were. And I also wanted people to understand that now I have boundaries. So before this was okay, now it's not okay. And it was tough because you get pushback and people make you feel like you're doing something wrong because they don't like your boundaries now, and they benefited from you not having boundaries. So now that you do, it's like, hey, why are you doing that? And kind of have to learn how to be okay with having boundaries and not questioning yourself, which is something that I'm still working on now. And just not questioning myself and whether or not my boundaries are appropriate and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that was a part of me shedding an old layer. So not having boundaries, allowing people to think for me, overextending myself so that people will like me, and not sticking up for myself if people were saying things about me or people that I love. Now it was releasing that person and being like, no, this is no longer okay. And now I'm going to build my confidence up to see if I can, challenge people when they come at me like that. That took a really long time, and I'm just now getting to the point where I'm not allowing people to talk to me in a certain way, or I'm giving energy back, and it kind of feels good. It's still a little new, but just kind of speaking my mind and saying that's not okay with me, or I have a problem with that, or whatever, is better than the person. Not better than, but I guess, yeah, it's better than the person that I used to be. I like that version of me better that doesn't allow people to walk all over her. So that's just one of the layers of myself that I have shed. So now I'm in a position where I need to find what makes me happy. So making decisions based on what makes me happy instead of what I think my family wants for me and what I think would make the people around me happy, or doing something because I said that I would. Sometimes you say you're going to do something, sometimes you start something, and then you end up not liking it anymore, or it's just not serving you anymore, and you no longer want to do it, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to just change your mind, and I'm learning that too. Like, just because I started something or I said that I was going to do this thing, once I started doing it, I realized that I didn't like it anymore, and that I don't see the purpose. I don't see the point in doing it anymore. And now I don't want to do it anymore. So to me, before, that was quitting. And I didn't want to be a quitter. I wanted to follow through. I didn't want people to say this, that, or the other thing about me, because I made, people knew that I chose to do this, and now I'm choosing not to. But at the end of the day, if I'm not happy and if my mental health is suffering because of this choice, then it's okay for me to make a decision to shift. And it's not quitting, it's just shifting. I'm pivoting to something else. I thought I was going this route, but now I'm going to go this route instead, because this one is not making me happy. And that was something that I experienced because I was in a master's program for marriage and family therapy, which was something that I had on, I guess, my to-do list for years, and something that I wanted to do for a long time, and people knew, and I would tell people when they asked me what I wanted to do, and they're like, oh, you have your life together and all that stuff. So I kind of built up that identity around being a marriage and family therapist, because people know that I want to go to graduate school and they're expecting this of me. So now I have to follow through, because people know I'm in graduate school going to get my master's degree, and I have to make them happy. I have to fulfill that because I told them that I would. And I ended up staying in that master's program for about a year, even though the very first term I was like, I don't like the way that this program is taught. I don't like the class material. I don't feel good about it. Like, I wanted to quit the first term. I had a big meltdown. I cried to my mom, like, I want to quit. And then I had a change of heart, and I was like, no, I'm just going to see it through. It'll be fine. It's only, 3 years. I could do it. And that was a repeating cycle for the whole year that I was in that program. where it was just like, I don't like this. I don't like doing this, but I feel like I need to finish it because I started it and now I need to finish it. And then it just came to me in maybe November of 2021. I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, I literally, it's anxiety provoking at this point. It's messing with my mental health. It's really a struggle for me to even get my work done. I'm falling behind and I need to stop pushing myself to do this. I want to be done. I don't want to be in school anymore. I don't want the responsibility of homework and assignments. The way that the program is structured is not beneficial to the way that I learn, because there was no real interaction with your professors or your peers, other students. It was just discussion boards and turning in, large papers. So if we do that, then there's no real social interaction. I don't get to know my teachers. I don't get to know the people who are in class with me. They don't get to really know me. They know my opinions. They don't necessarily even know what I look like, So I just didn't want to be in that program. And it just wasn't something that was beneficial to the way that I like to learn. And I had to just be okay with letting it go and not doing it just because I said I would finish it. I don't want to anymore. I changed my mind. It's not working for me. And I want to do something different. And I did. So that was another just time for me to just release that people-pleasing part of me that wanted to just do everything that everybody else wanted me to do, or even that I thought they wanted me to do, because I said I was going to do this thing and now I'm not. But what are people going to think about that? And it's like, I don't care. I don't care, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not happy. The end. So yeah, that's another just thing that I had to let go of. And this is, a very, abbreviated version of all the layers of myself that I've had to let go of. And these are just some of the major ones that I thought about and I wrote down, because I've had to shed a lot of layers of myself, but mainly they've been around being a people pleaser and doing things that I thought other people wanted me to do and not wanting to make waves, because I've spent pretty much the majority of my life trying not to be a burden or a problem, or sometimes even to be seen. And I felt like hiding. And I'm in this season now where I don't want to hide anymore. Well, it's been a while, when I started doing my YouTube and stuff, that was a big deal for me because people could see me, and I didn't like that, I didn't want people to see me because they could judge me, they could criticize me, they could pick me apart. I could pick me apart. But at a certain point, it was just like, I don't want to be that version of myself anymore that hides and that's ashamed of herself or doesn't have confidence enough to let people see who she is. I want people to see who I am, because now I know and believe that I am a good person, and I actually like and love myself enough to let people see me and take the chance on, possibly being judged, because you take that chance when you are using social media as a platform. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because I'm okay with who I am. I like myself. I have people around me who love me and support me and tell me and remind me that I'm a good person and how much, I matter. So I don't need to be worried about the possibility of somebody saying something that hurts my feelings. Yes, it could happen, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because I know who I am. So yeah, right now I'm learning to listen to my internal voice, and I'm not always sure of what I want, and I'm not always sure of what my internal voice sounds like. So, your mind could play tricks on you. So I'm learning the difference between my true higher self, my internal voice, and what I really want versus my fearful voice the anxiety that tries to tell me, not to do this because what if this happens, or what if that happens, or you can't do that, you're not able to do that, or all those negative things. Deciphering between the two, because sometimes something can be negative, but it's also true. So it could sound negative, but it's the truth. Like, these things could actually happen, but that doesn't mean that I have to fall into that cycle of worrying about it and not doing something just because bad things could happen. Because that's with anything. You go outside, bad things could happen, but they don't. You hope that they don't, and for the most part you're protected, and you come back home safely. But you're taking a chance just, by living every day. But you can't stop living just because bad things might happen, because that's just not a good way to live. So yeah, another thing that I recently have done, I have talked about cutting my hair. So I have locks, and I've been missing my loose natural hair. So before I had my hair locked, I had natural hair. So if you don't know what that means, for black women, some black women will get relaxers so that their hair lays straight and pressed and silky. I had that for a while, and then I decided to stop doing that and let my hair grow out the way that it naturally grows out. So I cut my hair really short, grew it out naturally, and I wore it like that for like 4 years. Then I decided to lock my hair up. And I really liked it, but then right now I'm at the point where I'm kind of deciding to change. So that was another thing that I was like, well, I spent all this time growing my hair out, and these people really like my hair, but I'm not really happy with it. So I felt like I had to justify why I wanted to cut it. No, I don't need to do that. I just don't want to wear it like this anymore. I want my loose natural hair back. So I kind of started cutting a little bit of the back of it, because some of it was longer in the back. So I'm like, let me just cut it. And then I got a little scissor happy, and I was going through my whatever, like people say, if a woman cuts her hair, she's going through something or something like that. So I had my moment, and I just cut it. And it's just, I didn't cut it all the way off, but it's shorter than it was. But the point I'm getting at is I was looking at one of the pieces of my hair, the bottom of a lock that I cut off, and just looking at it and really like looking at what it is. And even though what a lock is, like physically for me, looking at it and seeing my old hair, because my hair is on the ends is colored red. And so looking at the lock itself that I had cut, there was my natural colored hair in the middle, and then around it was, the red hair. So for me, it just kind of looked like a metaphor of myself, like I'm still in the middle of all the chaos around me. So all the dead hair that was around that real piece of my hair that was underneath all that color. I feel like I'm rambling. So looking at that piece of my hair that I had cut off, I noticed that, my natural hair color was perfectly intact, in the middle of all that dead hair that had fallen off and that had gotten colored by the hair dye. The hair dye never touched the hair in the middle. And so when I looked at it, I felt like this isn't my hair, like this is not mine. This is something that's covered in layers. And it kind of just reminded me of a metaphor for myself. Like all the layers that we put on ourselves as we get older, all the labels, all the layers of our experiences and what people say we are, and what we think we are, and all those different things that layer on top of who we really are, they don't matter. We're still we're still our true selves underneath all of that stuff. So to me, just looking at that hair, it just kind of reminded me of the fears, other people's opinions, the trauma, everything that has layered on to me, the person that I was when I was born, and who I truly am. And the real me, my soul is untouched. So it just kind of reminded me of that. Like, the person that I am can never be taken away from me. It can never be covered to the point of it goes away. It's always going to be there. And so now I want to shed the layers, shed the layers of, quote unquote, the dead hair, like that hair that I was looking at. I want to shed those layers. I want to take it apart. I want to see what's underneath it and understand the person that I am without all of that. Physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, those layers, some of those layers are helpful and some of them are no longer serving me. And so I want to take it all apart and figure out what's underneath and figure out which layers I want to keep, which are helpful and which are not, and let them go. And you can do that too. I know the metaphor might be a little confusing, but I hope that it makes sense. Underneath all of that, all of those dead layers, all of those things that people told you that you were, or you learned that you were through your experiences and fears and doubts and all that stuff. You don't have to hold on to that. You can let those things go, and you can be a different version of yourself. And you're always going to be growing. It's not going to be an easy process. You're not going to just wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm not a people pleaser anymore. I am not going to do it anymore. And yeah, I'm just confident it's not going to work like that. It's going to take time to peel back all that stuff and understand where it came from and notice the triggers, because some of the stuff is so deeply embedded in you that you're not even going to notice that you're doing it. Or you're not going to recognize that one behavior as a people-pleasing behavior, So it's multi-layered, and it's it's going to take a long time to undo a lot of things, especially if it's something you've been doing your whole life. It took you your whole life to build up that habit. So it's going to take you, some time to undo it. So give yourself grace while you're doing it. But for me, it's just time for me to reinvent myself, or maybe it's just rediscovering myself and uncovering the real me. I'm not exactly sure how the process is going to go. I just know that it has to happen, and now is the time for it to happen, because I don't want to be trapped under these layers anymore. I want to be free. I feel like that's why I want to cut my hair, because there's realizing that it's just dead hair, it's like I want to be free of that energy. I want my hair to be free, and I want myself to be free also. I don't want to hold on to the layers of other people's opinions and stuff. I will always be growing. I'll always be, partially, a part of me probably will always have those old layers, those habits, but I will be aware. For me, that's the bigger thing, versus just trying to get, of course, I want to work through it and not do those things anymore. But the bigger thing for me is to understand, one, why I do it, and then to realize when I'm doing it. So maybe it's a trigger that puts me back into that space, or, something like that. I just want to understand why and when I'm doing it, so that I can catch myself and be aware and say, oh, you're trying to people please again, or you're trying to fix things again, you're hiding yourself again, you're being self-conscious. And then to stop myself and make a different choice. That's the main thing that I am working on right now, and what I want to do moving forward in this 2022 new year is to be comfortable, even more comfortable in my skin, and making decisions that are best for me and only me, because I tend to think about other people's feelings a lot, and what they need and what they want, and I want to make sure everybody's happy, and I'm not always focusing on making myself happy. And not everybody around me is like me, where they're, concerned with me being happy over themselves. A lot of people around me are, focusing on them, as they should, So it's like I'm pouring all myself into other people. Nobody's really pouring back into me. But part of it is because I'm choosing to do that. I don't have to pour myself into other people anymore. I can keep some of that for myself. And I can also have boundaries that I set that are for another person. Like, I'm no longer going to try and fix this person. Because number one, they didn't ask me to help. And number two, it's nothing that I can do to help somebody fix something that they don't want to fix, or that they're not actively trying to fix. You have to just let people have their own journeys and learn through doing. I can't do their life for them. I can't write their journey for them. I can't walk their path for them. I have to just let people discover themselves, basically. So that's my little episode about releasing the old me. What I'm learning about releasing the old me, and the stories that I've been told about myself, about being shy and quiet and stuff. That I'm not antisocial. I actually really do like to socialize, and I like to be around people, but I like to be in control of when I get ready to go, and making sure that I have downtime after I've socialized, because I like to be alone also. So just learning who I am. And this podcast and my, I just want to be inspirational. My Reiki has really helped me explore that and to be more comfortable with myself, hearing my own voice, because, a lot of the times I've heard people say they don't like their own voice, and I'm getting used to hearing my own voice. It's growing on me. So yeah, I'm excited for what the new year's going to bring. I'm excited to move forward. I have big changes coming up that I'm really happy for. I am manifesting and changing my mindset and releasing some more old layers of myself. And things will be changing, and they will be good, and I'll be happy about it. I'll get through the hard times, because there will be hard times, and I'll be okay. So I hope that you all got something out of this episode, are thinking about releasing old layers of yourself that are no longer serving you, and getting down to who you are and who you want to be, and doing things that serve you and only you. And that's okay. It's not selfish. Some things are just for you, and that's okay. So thank you for joining me on this first episode of 2022. Don't forget, you can find me on social media. Mostly just Instagram and TikTok. Instagram is at Healing with Nama. You can also find my main page of my brand, which is at I Just Want to Be _inspirational. So that's AIJUSWANNABE _inspirational on Instagram, and the same name on TikTok. I Just Want to Be _insp, because I couldn't spell inspirational all the way out. So find me on social media, give me a follow, give me a like, share the podcast, and I'll see you all on the next episode.